So there we have her, nearly finished, and that's a very pretty quad. Only things really I've got left to do are just put in this rubber grommet which goes in hither, and just decide on my battery lead length, because the ESC came with this cable already attached. But as you can see, it's a very, very beautiful quad. Really is a stunning thing. So let's dive in and see what we've got inside it. So here we have the Smooth Operator 6-inch, kind of all built, bar a few tweaks like adjusting the battery wire length, as the ESC came with this already soldered on, and a few bits of tidying up to do, but this is essentially how I'm going to run it. Component wise, we've got the RCN Power GTS2 2306 1800 kV. We've got a Frsky Predator V3. We've got a DYS F45A 45 amp 3 to 5S 4-in-1 ESC, and we've got the CL Racing F7 flight controller. On the underside we have a Frsky R9M receiver, which is just waiting to be taped and stuck to the bottom of the ESC. And at the back, as per my other build, I've just sandwiched in the Eachine TX801 VTX, which has served me so well in my other one. And despite this being just sandwiched in with 3M foam tape on my other Smooth Operator, I've had zero issues either with overheating or anything else, so I've just kept it the same. On the back we've got a Frsky Lollipop V2, and I'm using a Catalyst Machine Works Crossfire antenna mount. However, apologies to Neil, I bought the wrong one. This one is actually the rear mount, so it should be mounted on these two bolts here via these two 3D printed holes, but I'm just testing it on this arm as a temporary measure while I find my feet with this new system, because I've never used the R9M system before, and the only real reason I am using it is simply because I got one free with my new radio. Prior to this I always used an XM Plus, simply because it gave me the RSSI that I needed, and I've never had fail-safes that didn't involve chopping antennas or something like that. When it comes to receivers and stuff and radios, I'm a bit of a Luddite. You know, I love to fly. I don't really care about transmitters and receivers or anything like that, which is the reason why I always stuck with the XM Plus, because it gave me 100% reliability. So I've come into the Frsky R9M protocol or long range system completely blind. I don't know anything about it, so I've had to do a little bit of legwork. So basically this is running on F port, and it's disconnected by the 3 wires you see there, and it basically just runs to a TX pad on the CL Racing F7, and touch wood, it seems to be working absolutely fine. The RSSI doesn't sort of flicker around like it does on the XM. It seems to remain really steady. So again, I mean, it's just going to be a case of suck it and see if I get on with it. If I don't, then I'll stick in an XM Plus. If I do, then I might look at converting some of my other quads over to it. You know, if you're a Crossfire user, you know, I'd happily buy the Crossfire system for 100, 200, even 300 quid, but the reason why I'll never buy one is because the receivers are too expensive. When you've got a multitude of quads like I have, I'm not paying 35, 40, 45 quid for a receiver. A receiver to me is worth 15 or 20 quid, and anything more than that I just won't bother. So that's my stance on it. Obviously, you know, if you use Crossfire, great. If you don't, equally great. I don't really care one way or the other. I'm not in any particular camp. So as I said, using the R9 MM on the R9M module, simply because it came with the quad. Earsheen VTX has worked really well for me on my other quad, so we're sticking with that. At the front we've got the CL Racing LEDs, and at the back we've got some cheapy Banggood versions, which I had sitting around on my bench. Banggood actually sell the CL Racing ones now, so as they're a little bit smaller, they're probably the ones to get. So it's a pretty straightforward build. The only thing I'm not keen on right now is the Fly buzzer, which is massive. On my original one, I used the Hellgate buzzer, which is much smaller and fits in this front part much easier. But it has a really quiet buzzer on it, whereas this guy is really, really noisy. So I wanted to use this, bearing in mind that we're using a long range system and it's a 6-inch. So all I've basically done is just wedge that in with some double-sided foam tape until I come up with a better solution. And again, it's just connected to the 5-volt. I'm not using the buzzer signal wire because it's so loud. I only want this thing to engage basically when the main battery lead disconnects. The DYS F45, I came into this, I bought this off eBay from a company called King Quad in the UK. Who I've used before absolutely fine, and it's 20 quid, which is the reason why I bought it. I think they usually retail for about 45 quid on Banggood and places like that, and I used it expecting the worst in terms of noise, because my past experience of DYS ESCs is that the single ESCs are great, and for some reason the 4-in-1 ESCs are really, really noisy. However, running the VTX and the camera straight from, or should I say, running the VTX straight from VBAT on the flight controller, and basically the VTX powering the camera with 5 volts, at least on the bench I'm getting 0 noise, so fingers crossed. I've got a 35 volt capacitor attached to the side here, and I may actually add in a larger capacitor on the other side at some point, and the reason for that is this guy's only rated for 5S, which is odd for a 45 ampere C. So if I decide to run this on 6S, I'll probably just add another capacitor on for a little bit of peace of mind and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it's a really straightforward build. The only reason this looks a little bit cramped is because I'm not using the Unify, which is what this guy's really designed for. And obviously I've wedged in a big buzzer at the front. The rest of it is really straightforward. On the ESC, I'm not using ESC telemetry because I've got no time for that. I'm simply using the analog current sensor. So I've had to remove a wire, and I just had to change the wire in pinout to connect from this guy to this guy because they were different. But yeah, all in all, it's a really good system. Obviously this would sit and be attached to the shoulder mount like so. So yeah, I think it's just going to be a case of getting out there, test flying it, and seeing whether these motors are going to be, strong enough on 5S, or whether I need to do some changes and take it round to 6S. But yeah, absolutely love the frame. Pretty easy build if you know what you're doing, but essentially it's just one board there, and a VTX on the other side, so it's dead straightforward. So yeah, so let's see how this guy flies. I'll keep you updated with any issues I've got, particularly on this ESC. The CL Racing F7 board is really simple to set up. The only thing you need to remember is you've got 2 sets of jumpers which you'll need to set before you connect it up. One for the receiver power, whether it's 3.3 volts or 5 volt, and another as to whether your VTX is getting I think it's 9 volts or full battery power. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. This board has a few additional features on it that are pretty new. I think you can turn on and off your VTX via a new system. It's also got some little pads for GPS as well on it, so it looks like a full-featured board. The only thing I would say about the CL Racing boards from past experiences, I found the regulators to be pretty noisy. So as a matter of course, I'll always use VBAT when I can. So yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was useful to somebody, and let's see what this guy can do in the air. Thanks guys. Bye bye.